Hi, everyone. Welcome to Radiant Living, Inspiring Humanity to Thrive. I'm Marisa B, and today I have with me guest speaker, Barb Pastuszko. Barb is a life coach who found her voice and now assists women in up-leveling their lives so they can not only find their voice, but they can live a healthy, wealthy, abundant life. Hi, Barb. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me, Marissa. I'm so excited to go on to this journey with you, this conversation.
Well, I thank you so much. I find this so interesting because you and I had spoken before, and I
Mhm.
know that you really were doing this all the time. But can you tell the audience a little bit how really you got started as a life coach?
Absolutely. So for 25 years, I had been in the corporate world. I started out as just an administrator and then worked my way up into office management, which included human resources. And I found myself, even though I didn't really, I liked what I was doing, the people part of it. But what I didn't like was all of the other stuff, all of I guess the task stuff that I didn't really quite enjoy. But I found myself constantly being asked questions and I guess sought out, let's say, in the office kitchen, where people would find me and then just start talking about themselves. And I really enjoyed listening. So I that was part of what I did. And that was the best part of my day for most of my corporate years. And then when the world turned on its axis, I decided, I said to my husband, I said, I just can't see myself going back into that corporate life, that 9 to 5, that routine. That's just not me. And if I don't find something else to do that I really am passionate about, I'm just gonna fade away. And so that's when I did all my research and decided to become a life coach. It resonated with me. It sat well with me because I had been doing this for so long just as a sidebar. I mean, I was also a fitness instructor. So I found that all of the things that I was passionate about, like instructing and coaching and teaching people, were things that I wasn't doing and things that I needed to be doing for me. So that's
And
that's how I started my journey.
and of course, in human resources, you're not only gathering information, but you're providing information. And I'm assuming having conversations about one's professional life. I mean, I'm sure that these conversations may be salted with some personal information, but a lot of it might, if I
Mhm.
understand other people who deal with professional coaching, it's a lot of the professional questions. Was what was happening with you while you were on the job? I mean, that's a long time to be in human resources. You said 25 years, correct? That you were doing that.
Yes, yes. And it's quite interesting because I find that with human resources, a lot of it, although it's in a professional atmosphere,
Mm-hmm.
is very personal because people are bringing themselves to
Mm-hmm.
you, whether they want to change careers or change positions or are feeling um, maybe a little stifled in the position that they're in. It's a personal thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that they're dealing with on a personal level. So there is a little bit of coaching. Well, there's a lot of coaching
Mm-hmm. Yes.
as an HR person, and and that's what I found myself doing was more of the coaching side. So I when I was found in, let's say, the office kitchen, it was it wasn't about HR. It had nothing to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's more that they knew that they can come to me and talk to me on a personal level and that there would be no judgment and that I would take that back into my HR hat and say, oh, this person
Mm-hmm.
isn't fit for such and such a thing. That wasn't the case. it was more on the personal side. And I found that I enjoyed that more than I did human resourcing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what led me to my decision to put that hat aside and put on the coaching hat.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that you mentioned that you found your own voice. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Oh, for sure. And again, I returned back to how I was in the corporate world. I always felt that, or I convinced myself that I'm just good to be behind the scenes. And it was okay to just push everybody out on stage and let them have their moment. And then I realized that I wasn't happy. Why can't I be out on stage? Why can't I be the one who, not that I dreamed about this, but who was getting the accolades or who was front and center in what they were doing. And so for a long time, I just convinced myself that no, I didn't need to speak. I didn't need to quiet myself. And until I went on my own personal journey, so when I started life coaching, of course, when you begin this journey, you have to be willing to be coached as well.
Oh, yes.
Everybody has challenges in their life. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, whatever your situation is. We all have challenges in our life. And you have to be willing to open up yourself before you can expect others to open up to you. And so I did a lot of personal growth, and I still am, because if you stop growing, then what's there left in life? You need to continue growing in order to get better, to feel better, to have more successes in your life. So that's kind of where it was for me. And that's when I started on my coaching journey. That's when I started to find my voice and to realize, hey, what I have to say is of value. I never thought that before. And this is what I want to connect and resonate to other women, is to say that everybody has a voice. Everybody has value, no matter what it is. And you can speak your mind and speak your truth and be authentic and still have success.
And so when you say up leveling their lives, this is exactly what you're talking about then, because I'm assuming that someone's going to come to you and they know that perhaps something is off or missing, or maybe they're not happy. I'm assuming that that's because if you're saying up leveling, they're looking for something maybe more.
Yes.
Is that the case?
And yes. And I relate it to me. We all go through our different stages, right? Our decades, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. And in each of these stages, like in the 20s, you're just discovering yourself. You're having fun. In the 30s, now you're starting to get more serious. Perhaps you're in a long-term relationship. Perhaps you're starting to think about kids or having kids. When you get into your 40s, this is kind of, at least it happened for me, so I'm assuming it happens with other women. You start to think and you start to reflect, okay, what have I done? What am I needing to do? I'm on this hamster wheel right now, and I don't want to stay on there. Or perhaps they've been on there for a while, and then when they get into their 50s and they're still on this hamster wheel, and they're thinking, okay, I've lost something here. I've lost a little part of myself. How do I get that back? And it's all about reclaiming their own personal power and not ignoring their family, not ignoring their friends, but starting to not ignore who they are and who they want to be, and start prioritizing themselves. Because we've all heard the phrase, don't come from an empty cup or a half-filled cup. You always want to have your cup filled. And or the plane, put your mask on first before you assist your children or anybody who needs assistance. If your cup is not full, then you can't give the best of yourself to others, even if you wanted to, because you're coming from an empty place. So it's okay to put yourself first. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to think about yourself and to want to up level your life and to better yourself and to find or rediscover your purpose, because it's only going to play out better for those around you, your family, your friends, your coworkers. When you're happy, everybody
Mm-hmm.
else is happy. Like they say, you know, happy wife, happy life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, happy woman, you know, everybody else around you is also happy when you're satisfied with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because you're giving more back.
Well, I know that, as at least with the clients that I have, perhaps on a personal level, they are more apt to look to be more authentic or to find ways that fulfill them. But I think an economic issue comes into play with a lot of my clients,
Mm-hmm.
because what they do for their employment may not be something that they want to do, but often they have to do. And because they have life's expenses that they have to deal with or contribute to in a relationship. Do you
Mm-hmm.
find that a lot of your clients have that issue as well? I find that that's a little bit more difficult to tell them, to assist them in finding an authentic employed self. I would say that way.
Very, very true. And I was exactly that person.
Mm-hmm.
I chose the corporate world over perhaps being a fitness instructor full time
Mm-hmm.
or a coach full time back then, because the corporate world paid more. I'm just going to
Mm-hmm.
be
Yes.
right out there, blunt, and say it. It paid
Mm-hmm.
more. And at the time, those challenges were that I needed to contribute in that way. And now I've come to realize that when we have financial difficulties, or in a time in our life where things are tough, every and I'm going to speak for women and speak for myself, every woman will go out there and buy a new lipstick or a new blouse or top, because they want to feel good about themselves in that moment. They're investing in themselves to make themselves feel better. And that's how I see hiring a coach, is that it's not an expense. You're investing
Mm-hmm.
in yourself. You're investing your time. You're investing the fact that you need and want to work on yourself. And what better investment can you make than on you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean yes, that's a rationale for someone getting the help. But I find that a lot of my clients, they're really just miserably unhappy with what they're doing as a career, as employment, and sometimes they can't leave readily.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I meant by the
Oh, okay.
economic issue, because yes, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. You have to invest in yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to take care of yourself. Otherwise, how could you take care of anyone else? So that is definitely the truth. And there are ways to do that with
Mm-hmm.
a coach, with whomever that you're going to deal with. As you said, coaches have coaches, right? Correct. They have coaches,
Absolutely.
because that's just the way it is, because everybody can need someone to talk to, someone to map out things with, to plan, and have someone as a sounding board
Yes.
to speak about different ideas that they have for a path forward for themselves. But
Mm-hmm.
it's more an economic issue. You can't say to someone necessarily leave the job tomorrow, because many people can't, which it's sad, because they're miserable, but they really can't make that choice the very next day. So it
Mm-hmm.
is a path that they're on. Do you
Yeah.
find that a lot of your clients do that? I know a good portion of mine are in that situation.
Well, firstly, I would never uh, suggest anyone leave
Mm-hmm.
their job or switch careers until they're ready.
Mm-hmm.
There there is a lot of background work that I think you need to do before perhaps you may be brave enough or prepared enough to leave your place of work or switch careers. And that stems from a lot of limiting beliefs, what you believe of yourself, and perhaps self-judgment and self-sabotaging behaviors that are coming up for you, that are holding you back, that are telling you you're not ready, you're not capable, you don't have enough value, you're not educated enough. All of these things we can self-talk ourselves into. And that's kind of what happened to me. And that's what had me holding back and staying in the jobs that I did have, because I didn't think that I was capable. I didn't think that I was educated enough. And that's the work that I had to do. I had to reframe my thoughts about who I was, who I am, and who I want to be, and kind of rejig that a little bit and start thinking about who I really was, and take off the pretend Barb and put on the real Barb. And you can do that while still being in the job that you are. And then you'll start to find that, not that you're going to love your job more, but even if you still want to change, you'll be able to tolerate it more, because you are improving what's on the inside, and you're strengthening that reserve and that determination and that purpose and that personal power, so that you will be more prepared to make the move that you want to make, depending on what it is.
Well, right. For example, the more positive you are, the more positive results you get, because it's just
exactly
it just surrounds you.
Exactly.
You know, so.
Exactly. And it's not, I'm not saying, well, if you think more positive, things will change. Sort of, kind of. But it's a process. You can't just wake up one morning and just, oh, I'm positive today, everything's going to be great, my life is going to be wonderful. Right. No. That's just you saying, I'm just going to stifle what has been the challenge. And a lot of times it's the challenge from within. It's something that you are holding back, that you are keeping back, that you're holding on to.
Right. Because a lot of it's, negative self-talk.
Exactly.
And old programming, old
way
words.
Back. I mean, you can go way back to, childhood.
Well, I just recently did a talk, and I wanted to make sure I had all my statistics correctly. And the National Science Foundation has said that 80% of the people, I should say 80% of our thoughts are negative. And we have something like 1,600 thoughts a day, and 80% of those are negative. That's pretty sad. How many of those are our own personal self-defeating thoughts, or how many of those are broken records or old cassettes that are being played, that we really, through no fault of our own, are hearing in our head every day. So it is a big challenge for many people.
Absolutely. It's so much easier to think negatively than to think positively. Isn't that sad? Like,
I know, it's sad.
It's just crazy how that's almost, with everything that's out there in the world, most of the news, most of the information that you hear is all negative. So is it a wonder why that statistic is so high?
Right.
That we think more negatively than positively. And that's why it's so important for us as individuals to really take charge of our own life and tune out the negative news and negative thoughts. And it's takes work. If you want to change, it's going to take, a lot of work, massive action,
Yes.
to instill those new behaviors. It's not easy, but change is doable. Change is possible. We see it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If we look on the flip side and start seeing the positive stories, we
Mm-hmm.
know it can happen. We know it has happened to others. So why not
Oh, absolutely.
yourself, right?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. You just, I think, have to take the first step.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take the first step
Yeah,
um, to really to get help, because sometimes you can't do it all alone. You have to find someone that will assist you. I mean, the work is all inner work. You're doing it yourself, of course, but you still have to find someone that's in your corner, right? Correct. I mean, that's after all what a coach is. They're in your corner. They're helping
exactly.
you assess your best route, your best skills, your best way to become authentic.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that you cannot do it yourself, but we're humans. We need connection. We need
Mm-hmm.
that sense of belonging, that love, that feeling of being important. We can't all do it for ourselves. And, there are some people out there who will say, well, I was my best advocate. I did it on my
Mm-hmm.
own. And that's great. But you still have others around you.
Right.
And so if you surround yourself by very supportive, positive people, then you're able to perhaps even get to where you want to be a little bit quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And basically that is what a life coach
Mm-hmm.
is I'm your supporter, I'm your cheerleader, I am your accountability partner. I will, be the one kind of putting the boot to butt, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and calling you on the things that you said that you were going to do to make sure that you stay true to your word,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all about being true to yourself. If you want something, then you need to go out there and get it. And that's where I come in, ask those difficult questions, really get you sitting and thinking those answers through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where there's a lot of like aha moments and kind of like, oh, okay, I can see how what happened to me here is what I have been carrying with me all of this time. And now I need to let it go. Some people aren't ready to let it go just yet. Some people need
Right.
a little bit more work, but it's the whole process of recognizing what those stories are, those triggers are, so that the first step is the recognition, and the second step is accepting, and then the third step is starting to reframe.
Yes. Exactly. And now, do you work one on one, or you also have groups? How do you work?
I primarily work one on one. I find that that intimacy works best for both. I do have something in the works where I will be doing more of a group um, thing, but that'll be more on the health coaching side, although I think they go hand in hand. I think with life coaching, it's very important to just give my focus on the one person, so that we can build up that
Mm-hmm.
rapport, we can build up that trust, that connection, and where the person that I'm working with, the client that I'm working with, will be able to just speak freely and let go of things, and maybe speak of things that they have never spoken to.
Right. Exactly. Well, exactly. Sure. If you have a more comfortable environment, perhaps being one on one. Now, do you do this in person, or are you virtual as well? How are you doing it now? I mean, I know the world has changed somewhat in these last few years.
I do it virtually. And I mean, I have had clients where it was just phone conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Our meetups, our sessions were phone conversations. I did recently work with a client physically where I was helping them with clearing their environment. And so it was more of a hands-on thing. That was just because logistically I was able to do it. I can still do that same thing virtually, but I find that I think it gives people a little bit of comfort when they are virtual, because even though you're seeing someone, there's still that a little bit of that safety with being virtual, I think.
I mean, I have to say the truth that a lot of my clients are still virtual. I mean, I'm in New York and I had to absolutely go virtual because we were completely locked down.
Yes.
But there were many people that were fearful of coming back. And I think that the environment that they've created for themselves, especially if it's an environment that they're comfortable in, that they feel safe in, they're continuing to stay in that environment. And that's what I'm finding. I have had some clients come back, but predominant amount of clients are still all on telehealth. Of course, because I'm a psychologist, I have to use one of the HIPAA approved sites. So I use a type of telehealth that is secure for my clients, but they definitely feel much more comfortable, I think. And it's almost like a cocoon of their own environment that they've created, especially if the I mean, there are those that they don't particularly care for their environment and they're forced to have to be in that particular environment at the time, which I'm sure you'll find as well. They're not happy with the environment, but they're in it. And at the moment they can't make the change. So those clients may have ventured out quicker, but there are those that feel very safe where they are and they prefer their environment. So they're still staying in it.
Yes. And I agree there, because when you're in what you deem as a safe environment, so your home or a certain room in your house, then you're more apt to be relaxed and more open and just more comfortable. So when you come out of your environment, it's pretty scary. So if you're going into somebody's office, that's not your safe space, that's their safe space. So I really have embraced the virtual client and coach interfacing, because that takes one challenge out of the way. And I've even had a client who will have our sessions. She's in her car, because that is a cocoon and nobody can hear. Even though her house, I guess she was in transition, so her house wasn't super comfortable. So she was good in her car because that was another comfort zone, and it was a bubble of hers. So, wherever you feel comfortable that we can work together virtually is fine with me, because the most important thing is to make you feel safe, to make you feel comfortable, and to give you that opportunity to just speak freely in no judgment zone.
And it's funny that you say in the vehicle. I'm in a group currently, and I was very surprised to see at first glance many people in their vehicles joining in the group. And then after quite a few weeks, I realized that for them, that was the probably best place, or they felt the safest place that they were able to speak their thoughts freely. But at first I was very surprised, and I'm talking quite a few that were using their vehicle. And these are people who have a home, have an apartment, a condo, whatever it may be, have employment, come home and do what they have to do, but they felt perhaps safer to speak out.
And it's funny that we're talking about this, because especially for women who are mothers, and whether it's of young children or teenagers, stepping out of the house environment where they feel that all eyes and ears are on them, and they don't have, like how some mothers say, well, I have to go into the bathroom just to have some peace and quiet. lock the door, and
Yeah.
they'll still have the kids, hey mom,
Right.
so going into the car,
Mm-hmm.
they're completely on their own. They have that, oh, okay, that wind down time,
Mm-hmm.
where for that, 45 minutes to an hour, it's all about them.
Right.
And if you just take that 1 hour, sometimes that's all you need to slowly start on your path to self-improvement, and feeling more like
Mm-hmm.
yourself again, and feeling that you have more of your own power, and that you've set your own boundaries.
Right. I think that the virtual, I mean, I find that the virtual really, I know that a lot of us were forced into it through the way in which the world went, but I
Yep.
find that it has opened a path to many people. I mean, I had a lot of clients that were
Mm-hmm.
coming one-on-one, and they had to move back to where they had come from because they had to rely on family members because they no longer had a job or could not stay away from a job as long as
Mm-hmm.
we had to at some points. And,
Yes.
life goes on and you must pay for things. And so they couldn't, and they had to go back to where they came from. So for those clients, I still have them virtual.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found that for them, it was maybe only the one consistency they had because they had to be uprooted and go back to different states. And
Yes.
that was so distressing for them already, what was happening. So to have one connection that was from before was something that they could rely on. That's why I really believe in virtual. It opens up to so many people. I mean, what if those people had gone back, and where you're locked down, wherever they went also had issues, you weren't going to find someone? What would you do? Would you go all those months with trying to figure out, well, when everything gets back to normal, I'm going to look for someone? They were really stuck. So the virtual capability for all of us worked well for them. That's why the car doesn't, that to me is perfect. If that's where you need, if that's where you need to go, that's
Mm-hmm.
how I feel. If that's where you need to go to, take your few deep breaths and have that relaxing downtime and then speak with someone, I think that that's really a perfect environment. Like you said, a cocoon in a vehicle, right? I mean, it
Exactly.
works.
Because, whatever it takes to make a client comfortable so that they can have um, some of those aha moments where they can just think
Mm-hmm.
for themselves, by themselves. And like you said, at the time when our world was topsy-turvy, sometimes going into the car was a fabulous change of environment,
Yes.
because even if you're by yourself, at least you're in another environment, and
Mm-hmm.
that you can move that car and go outside and see a different environment, but you're still safe.
Right. Right. Take yourself to some environment, external environment, of course, because we were all
Mhm.
out at the time. There was no indoors. But yes,
Yeah.
but in essence, you were bringing your security with you
Hmm.
because you were surrounded by your vehicle. So, I mean, and that works too.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
now, where do you see yourself going now? Since, things are moving along, and of course you've, like you said, you've changed careers. You've been doing this a little bit now, quite a few years now, though. I mean, I know you said that it was more during the pandemic that you really went in full force. Where do you see yourself going after this?
It's funny because I'm going to readily admit I'm in my later stages of my life. And by all means, that doesn't mean that you cannot completely change who you want to be and
Mhm.
how you want to direct your life. And now that I've become a life coach, I am at this point living my passion to be of service to others. So I see myself for, I don't know, I don't even want to put a timeline on it. I just see myself doing this and helping other women be the best that they can be, and find their purpose, and find their voice so that when they come into, if it's at their beginning stages or when they come into their later stage in life, that they know exactly who they are or even who they want to be and are ready to just take on the world. So for me, I don't even want to put a number, a timeline on it. This is what I am meant to do. This is what I want to continue to do for as long as I am able to do it.
And do you feel you'll always work one-on-one? Do you feel that that's your preferred method, one-on-one? Or do you see other activities?
Again, for the life coaching part, yes, because I think it's a lot easier for someone to open up when they're not exposing themselves to others, because they're not maybe ready for that. If I do things in groups, it will be on topics or subjects that's a little bit easier to do in a group environment. I find that if it's health and wellness, where you are really wanting to be in better health and you want to change that, then sometimes that is really good to do in a group environment, because now you have the support of everybody, like-minded people, and you can exchange thoughts and ideas. And it's personal, but there's a commonality.
Right.
We're all here.
And more commonality in general terms of fitness.
We're all here
and health
to do the same thing. We want to improve our health. We want to improve maybe our nutritional habits, and in turn that could lead to weight loss, whatever the actual goal is. It's a lot easier to be in that group dynamic for sure.
And so now if people want to get a hold of you, say audience members want to ask, do you have a website? How do they get a hold of you?
So right now I'm on 2 different social media platforms, which is my Facebook under my name, Barb Pastuszko, and on Instagram, which I'm under Best of Barb Wellness. That's probably easier to remember than Pastuszko.
Right. Yes. I was hoping I said it correctly today.
You
too.
did.
I wanted to make sure.
So beautifully. It just
thank you.
And by email, I'm bestofbarbwellness@gmail.com.
Well, I'm going to make sure I put those down. I'll put everything in the description, because there are times where audiences will send me a message and say, does this person have a website? How can I get in touch with them? So I definitely will list that. So you definitely an email. Yes. And the email. So the email is the same as the Instagram.
Yes. Just gmail.com. Yeah.
But you mentioned briefly that you also do health coaching.
Yes.
Health and fitness, because of course you were. You were fitness. You said you were a fitness instructor. So of course.
And I went through my own personal health journey when I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism back in 2016. So I had to completely change the way I looked at food, the way I consumed food, and the whole thought process behind it. I really had to listen to my body and understand what foods were good for my gut, what foods prevented inflammation and all of that. So because of that, I have a couple of programs that I have designed that will take you through a sugar impact, where you take the excess sugar out of your regular day-to-day. So I have that. I have 14-day and 21-day cleanses, which honestly, I think everybody should be doing at least twice a year.
Yes.
For, at least for 14 days.
It's funny that they used to do that.
Things.
They used to do that in history. If you check, that's really the change of seasons. They did a cleanse for themselves. whatever methods they use. Some had one way, some had the other, but they did in fact do that with the change of seasons to keep themselves healthy and well. And so it's funny that we're going back to these things. Now, are those things that you offer one-on-one also, or are those programs that people?
Those programs can be done in a group scenario, and I do offer them as a group, although I do offer one-on-one if someone really doesn't want to be in a group setting, then we do this one-on-one. It's the comfort level of the person or the people that are interested in this. But and I just want to be clear that when we're talking about cleanses or sugar impact, you'll notice that I did not say diet, because it's not a diet. It's a way of life. It's just changing how you look at food, how you consume food, where you're not depriving yourself. That's not the way it is. It's just changing how you look at food and how you feel that it really gives you that nutrition. So it's just a different way of consuming whole, real foods.
Now, how does one find out about that program? Do you run it so many weeks? Do you have it every week? Is it on? Is there a link on your social media for that?
So I usually do the cleanses probably twice a year. So in January, and then I was going to do a cleanse in September, but I was out of the city for quite a number of weeks. So I decided not to do that there. So my next one will be in January, when everybody is probably thinking like, oh boy, what did I do between Thanksgiving,
holidays,
and Christmas? I'm not feeling so good. I need to, rethink some things.
And that you can find, someone can find that information. You put that out on your social media for somebody to join that group. How would they find out about that?
I'm just working on the new one for January, so that should be probably coming out. I'm going to say early December, because nobody's going to be thinking about cleanses, around Thanksgiving or just before Christmas. So I will be putting that out, and yes, it will be on my social media, or anybody can DM me at any point in time. And, like I said, I can do one-on-ones with regards to this as well, but I will be kind of putting it into my feeds now, my posts, just reminding people that, it's about that time of year, both for coaching and for these health changes. So.
Yes. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming today. I know you're very busy, and I was thrilled to have you on. It's always wonderful to talk about these topics. The more we talk about it, the more we get our voice out there, the more we find that we want to connect with like-minded individuals, and we want to help those that are looking for it. Sometimes people don't know where to turn.
Absolutely. And I'm so very grateful that we had this conversation, and that I was part of your world. And I just look to connect and be of service to others in any way that I possibly can. So thank you for allowing me to do so.
Oh, you're quite welcome, Barb. Thank you again. And hopefully we'll speak soon. I mean, there's always a topic that comes up, that in this health and wellness field. There's always something to speak about. But again, have a wonderful afternoon, and hopefully we'll speak again. Thank you.
Thank you.